All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously provocative idea from Barrister Steven Barrett. He argues that our modern political trends are echoing, maybe a little too closely, the fragile, dangerous days of the Weimar Republic. We're going to get into human geography, the trap of eternal compromise, and the really bizarre, unintended consequences of trying to be just a little too kind.
So let's just dive right into Barrett's massive central question. Are we slipping into the exact same historical traps that doomed the Weimar Republic? Now, why does this matter? Well, as the saying goes, history rarely repeats itself exactly, but it sure does rhyme. If we can spot the patterns of the past hiding in our present, we might just be able to navigate our future a bit more safely.
To really unpack this, we'll follow his argument through 5 key stages: the geography of political extremism, the Fabian-Weimar connection, the politics of kindness, hyperliberalization and leniency, and finally, the danger of overcorrection.
Section 1. The geography of political extremism.
Barrett points out a really fascinating geographic echo at play here. He observes that historical hubs of strict Puritanism, places like Plymouth Rock, Bristol, and Cambridge, map almost perfectly onto today's epicenters of progressive, or what he terms new woke ideology. You see this dynamic playing out right now in places like San Francisco in the US or Brighton in the UK. According to Barrett, people actually move to these beautiful places, drawn by a search for ideological purity. They push that culture to its absolute limits, and when the area gets completely overwhelmed, the modern Puritans just pack up and migrate to the next hub, say Austin, Texas, and the whole cycle starts anew. It's kind of like ideological gentrification, and he suggests geography is a huge factor in how extreme political ideologies cluster and grow over time.
Moving on to Section 2, the Fabian-Weimar connection.
To really grasp his point here, we have to look at the psychological trauma that birthed the Weimar Republic. After World War I, the defeated Germans formed this republic around a strict, almost paralyzing avoidance of aggression. They were so terrified of being seen as the aggressors again that the state was built on a foundation of constant, eternal compromise. Saying no to anyone simply felt way too much like conflict, so they just stopped saying it altogether.
He compares this historical posture directly to a modern Fabian mindset. A Fabian state, in this context, operates on the utopian belief that everyone can simply be friends and that all conflict can be smoothed over if we just compromise enough. But here's the catch. That entirely ignores fundamental human reality. People disagree, people clash, and when you force a utopian vision of universal friendship onto a messy reality, you inevitably end up requiring dystopian levels of control to keep everyone in line when human nature predictably pushes back.
Which brings us to Section 3, the politics of kindness.
Now, Barrett makes a really crucial distinction here. He believes political leaders are genuinely acting out of a moral desire to do good. It is so easy to paint politicians we disagree with as villains, right? But Barrett assumes they're actually morally well-intentioned. He uses former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown as an example, arguing that leaders like him expanded the public sector because they deeply believed work is a moral good. They wanted to keep people off unemployment benefits. It was, at its core, a politics of kindness.
But this well-intentioned kindness breeds an absolutely bloated, over-regulated state that eventually struggles to provide even basic functions, exactly like the Weimar Republic. The state starts creating off-balance sheet public sector jobs just to hide unemployment. It introduces sprawling, endless regulations to stop all badness, eventually trying to legislate against even hurt feelings. It's fundamentally an attempt to regulate away the natural capitalist cycle of boom and bust, and with it, trying to eliminate all risk and hardship from everyday life.
And Barrett illustrates this with an incredibly relatable, if slightly uncomfortable, analogy: nasal spray addiction. Think about it. Step 1, you take the spray. It's state intervention, and it feels like a kindness. Step 2, quick relief. Society can finally breathe again, and everything feels temporarily better. But Step 3 is the trap. The more you use it, the more congested and bloated the system gets without it. The state's intervention creates a massive, unhealthy dependency, where the cure rapidly becomes the disease, leaving the entire system way worse off than before it intervened.
Section 4. Hyperliberalization and leniency.
Barrett draws another striking parallel to the Weimar Republic here by citing mass moral degeneracy. He claims this stems directly from a modern hyper-liberalization, where society, acting remarkably like that endlessly compromising Weimar state, fundamentally refuses to establish firm boundaries for adult behavior. Because the state is so obsessed with being kind and avoiding conflict at literally all costs, it loses the nerve to look an adult in the eye and say, "No, this behavior is entirely unacceptable."
He actually points to our modern justice system as terrifying proof of this hyperleniency. He highlights absolutely abhorrent cases, offenders caught with thousands of illicit images of children who receive mere suspended sentences. Let's be unequivocally clear about this. These are monstrous crimes that judges themselves describe as the worst they have ever seen. Yet Barrett argues that a system paralyzed by this politics of kindness has fundamentally lost the capacity to severely punish, even when the strictest, firmest boundaries are desperately required to protect the innocent.
And finally, Section 5, the danger of overcorrection. This is where we get to the core warning. Barrett strictly warns that if society fails to draw lines in the sand, if it completely fails to stand up and defend basic common principles, the historical result isn't just a slow decay, it is a catastrophic pendulum swing. The extreme leniency and degeneracy of the Weimar Republic didn't just quietly fade away into history, did it? No, it provoked a massive overcorrection into one of the most brutal, nightmarish authoritarian regimes the world has ever seen. Barrett is explicitly warning against the kinds of well-meaning, hyper-lenient policies that inadvertently drive us toward that exact same terrifying overcorrection today.
So, we conclude this explainer with a vital, urgent question to ponder. Can our modern system find the courage to strike a balance? Can we set necessary, firm boundaries today, using a strong but fair hand before history rhymes and the pendulum swings back with devastating force? It's a deeply sobering thought, and one that absolutely demands our close attention as we watch the policies shaping our world right now. Thanks for joining us for this one.